My biggest thing was I had nerves. I was always nervous about doing it, nervous about starting, and nervous about what's going to happen. And what I found is that if you let the universe guide you, the universe does a good job.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we had a chance to talk to Brian. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your channel.
All right. And Brian, what are you driving in these days?
Today I am driving my 1977 Dodge B200 Maxivan with an Explorer 212 conversion on it.
Oh, so what does that mean for the layperson?
Okay, so the Explorer company bought the Dodge vans from the dealerships and then put their conversions on it. The numbers represent the bumper-to-bumper length of the vehicles, from 207 to 212 to 224. And then, so it's powered by a 360 Dodge motor, pretty much bulletproof. It's got a 727 torque flight automatic transmission and a Dana 44 rear. So the War Wagon and I can get through some pretty heavy-duty stuff.
And so have you had any problems with it since being on the road?
Honestly, the first problem I had with it happened on my way here. I chucked the front U-joint, but that also happened to be the first trip that I had my scooter with me. So that made the 20-mile one-way trip to get the parts, and I fixed it on the road.
All right, well, you want to show us a tour?
Absolutely. Come on, let's check it out.
All right.
All right, everybody. So this is the War Wagon bedroom, the most important part of the War Wagon, because, well, this is where I spend a lot of my time. But back here is also like the control center, really. So I have my solar charge controller, I got my stereo, my diesel heater controller, I got my smoke alarm, I got my carbon monoxide detector, got a picture of my grandsons. And on the other side, I got my television and my movies. All the wood here was replaced by me. There was a really bad roof up here. I ripped that out because the mice were living in it for about 7 years.
Oh, man.
And I bought all the laminate flooring that you're going to see in this van. I bought for $15 off of Facebook Marketplace, and then I sold the balance of it for $100 after I put it in.
No kidding.
Nope. I'm a hustler full time.
So do you mind me asking, how much did you pay for your rig?
I drove the War Wagon home for $2,200.
Wow. How long have you had it?
This 2025 is going to be the 3rd year that I've owned it.
Okay.
I drove past it for a long time, back and forth on my way to work, and one day I stopped and I said to the gentleman, "What are you doing with that van out there?" And he said to me, "I was stopping and waiting for you to buy it." So that weekend I rode my e-bike over, picked it up and took it home, drove it home, and started gutting it out, ripped out all the systems and put new modern systems in it. Went solar, went diesel heater, went new compressor refrigerator.
How much do you think you spent on the build?
So, when you're a hustler, you're also kind of cheap. And I bought a lot of the things in this van off of Amazon, open box. I bought a lot of things in this van used off of Facebook Marketplace. And I found a lot of things by the dumpster. Don't think I have more than $5,000 wrapped up in this van, including the purchase price.
Oh, that's amazing. And so it's been your home for 3 years?
I've owned it for 3 years. I just went out for the first time full this year. All right, so on the roof of the War Wagon, we have 600 watts of solar panels. It's 200 watts of metal frame, 400 watts of walkable. Walkable means what it sounds like. I can walk across them. I also have a 40 amp charge controller, and I have 300 amp hours of lithium phosphate battery. As a backup system, I have a Bluetti AC70 and a folding 220 watt solar panel for that.
Have you found that you've needed the additional stuff very often?
Honestly, until I got it, I didn't realize I needed it. Now that I have it, there's absolutely no way I could live without it.
All right, it's a good choice on your part.
All right, so then when it comes to cooking my meals in the War Wagon, I have a 2-burner propane stove that has a 10-pound onboard tank. To keep all my stuff cold, got a 42-quart refrigerator. And then over here is my sink. And I can haul about 12 gallons of fresh water, have 5 gallons of gray water, and I use a USB rechargeable pump that I converted from a 5-gallon water bottle as my faucet, and I love it.
And so do you find yourself cooking a lot on the road?
I cook outside much more than I cook inside. I like to cook in cast iron on an open flame, but right now, in Quartzsite, there's not a whole lot of outdoor cooking going on because unless it's a dust burger.
Very windy right now.
All right, so if you look around the War Wagon, you will see some memorabilia from Australia. I have a license plate over here. I have a boomerang hanging over here that was given to me from an Aboriginal. And on the dashboard behind Brian, there is a kangaroo. And I was lucky enough to get all that stuff when I was over there touring with a band named Mayor's Well. I was lucky enough to spend 3 months there and come back with a couple keepsakes.
Were you in the band or were you touring with the band?
I was, so when I was a musician, I was just basically a hired gun. Someone needed a bass player on the road and I got the gig, and that's a lot of my jobs came that way. I was members of some bands along the way and did some recording and albums with them, but the most fun and the most traveling I ever had was while I was a hired gun.
Very nice. And would you ever go back to Australia?
I would absolutely go back to Australia. Western Australia has a piece of my heart. So then I do have some storage down here. These are drawers, but they're only half the distance of the sofa because behind that is where I have my diesel heater mounted. And it's been nice to have that because it's been getting cold in the desert.
Do you find you're using that more and more?
Yes. In fact, the last 2 nights, it ran all night.
Yeah, it got down to almost freezing.
I saw 30 degrees on my outdoor thermometer. Yeah. One of the greatest things that I saw about the Explorers, which made me want to get one, is this. This roof is not really raised, but the floor is sunken, which allows a guy of my height at 5'9" to stand here easily. I would say at 5'11", you could probably stand flat-footed in the galley here, and that saves your back, especially when you get to be 50-year-old like I am.
Yeah, stooping over to put your pants on is no fun.
No. And this, especially with not having the table in here, this makes it a very mobile, you know, and you can do a lot of stuff in this small space. Yeah. So right here is a very important part of my van life. This is my 1970 Gibson J50 Deluxe guitar that probably has more stories than me because I bought it at a pawn shop. But it's a really good campfire guitar. In front of that, I have a folding e-bike that I usually have in here. It's outside, and I'm sure you'll see it at some point. It's an electric 20-inch bike. It folds in the middle. I bought it used with hardly any miles on it for half the price, and now I've put in over 2,500 miles on that. Since I started traveling with a scooter, however, I find myself riding the scooter around a lot more, especially when I'm camped by myself. Now, here where all my friends are, we all have e-bikes, and you can find us on our e-bikes cruising around like we're the kids from the Sandlot.
What a blast.
It is a lot of fun. If I'd have known I was going to have this much fun when I turned 50, I'd have done it a lot sooner. So my parents were kind of biker hippies, and we traveled the country when I was young in a 1966 Harley Davidson and a 1948 sidecar. And we traveled a lot, you know, we would go all the way, well, we'd go west until it broke down and then we'd fix it and ride it back. We'd been to Canada. I'd been to Sturgis Bike Week the first time when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So traveling is just kind of in my blood, and then becoming a musician, that just kept it going. And now I'm 50 years old. I don't owe anybody any money. My kids are on their own, taking care of themselves. My wife passed away 20 years ago. So I'm just going to start my sunset ride a little early, me and the War Wagon and the rest of the traveling carnival.
So what has been your favorite part about being on the road so far?
Not wearing a watch. No. Meeting all the people. That's the greatest part. You know, part of the reason why I went out on the road too was I was kind of searching for something, you know, searching for humanity maybe. I was getting pretty disappointed in civilization. And what I found out is you meet a lot of great people out on the road. I mean, there's not good people everywhere, but the majority of people I've met out here, I mean, I've met people in the last 3 weeks that I'm going to know till the day I die. And that's the awesome part about being a nomad.
It's an amazing community out here.
It really is. You can't even prepare yourself for it because it takes, once you get thrown into it, it still takes a month to wrap your head around people are just genuinely being friendly and helpful without an agenda.
Do you have any advice for new people about to hit the road?
Do it, for sure. If you're on the fence, do it. And then you'll find out real quick if you want to do it. But my biggest thing was I had nerves. I was always nervous about doing it, nervous about starting, and nervous about what's going to happen. And what I found is that if you let the universe guide you, the universe does a good job. So I have a 9x7 awning here. One of those Amazon specials, $41.
Nice. Do you find yourself using that a lot?
Not in Quartzsite, but in the mountains very much. In fact, it's withstood 2 very severe hailstorms in the Rocky Mountains, just in 24 alone. So I use it, but it's a tough one. So this is just a motion light from Amazon that I can recharge with the solar panel. When I'm traveling, I take it off. When I figure out where I'm going to be, I put it back on. And that helps keep the riffraff away.
Aren't you the riffraff?
Yes. Okay, so this is the tank for my diesel heater. If you look at it very closely, you'll see that in its former life, it was a sink. I didn't make it, but I know that it definitely was a sink in its former life. I run the hose down through this conduit and into the diesel heater right here.
That's very clever.
You know, I'm a hustler, so that means I need to do things the cheapest way possible. Speaking of cheap, up here is a solar shower that I built from the recycling pile in Tucson, Arizona. I believe I built this entire solar shower for under $20. There's a 12-volt connector here that I can hook my air compressor up, pump some air into it, and during the summer I have pressurized hot water showers.
And how do you fill the water?
You pull the test plug out the top here, drive it over to the water station, add your hose, and fill it up with water. If you need to take a hot shower and it's really cold out, I suggest boiling 2 tea kettles full of water and adding them to that, and it will make it tolerable. I can hold about 5.7 gallons of water up there.
Brian, thank you so much for a peek inside of your vintage vehicle. I love it. The fact that it's a 1977, that's the same year as my motorhome, so I'm definitely very affectionate towards this.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. I love to show it off.
That's fantastic. And how long did it take you to build out, by the way?
Well, it's a continuing saga always, you know, changing and moving things, but 6 solid months till I was ready to hit the road and until I took it out for the first time.
Now, if people wanted to follow along with you on your adventures or find out more about you, how can we follow along?
You can find me on YouTube at Vintage Van Life.
All right, very good. Well, folks out there, check it out. And also let us know, what did you think of his build? What do you think about his vintage van that he has worked on and is now his home? Please let us know in the comments below. If you got anything out of today's video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, share it with friends. Until next time, we'll see you down the road. So long.